Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top stories today. A northeast Nebraska man has died after a crash over the weekend during blizzard conditions in Missouri. Authorities say it happened along northbound I-29 near the town of Mound City, Missouri. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says 33-year-old Travis Dozler of Neely was walking in the area when wintry conditions caused a semi to slide down a hill. The truck hit Dozler, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. A GoFundMe has been set up to support Dozler's pregnant wife and their 4 other children. A central Nebraska man accused of killing his stepfather still not competent for trial. That ruling handed down by a Hamilton County judge on Tuesday in the case of 30-year-old Caleb Arnett. Arnett being held at the Lincoln Regional Center receiving treatment. He's charged with first-degree murder in the death of his stepfather, Ross Nicholas. He also faces charges related to the stabbing of 2 other family members at an Aurora home in December of 2023. Arnett's next status review has been scheduled for March. Well, a new legislative session starts Wednesday. Our Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia spoke with Governor Jim Pillen about what he'd like to see ahead of the session.
The 109th session of the Nebraska legislature starts on Wednesday, and Governor Jim Pillen is ready to tackle his priorities. He says his priorities haven't changed. They are the same 4 words: kids, taxes, agriculture, and values.
I think the first thing that's important for all Nebraskans to know, nothing's changed. I'm focused on working and being governor of all Nebraskans. So what that certainly means is that we reach out and spend as much time as possible. Myself and our team, we're partners with the members of the legislature. It doesn't matter what color vests they wear. We're partners.
He wants to put forth legislation to make sure kids have no phones in school. He believes kids should be protected from social media and the impact it has on their mental health. He also wants his colleagues in the unicameral to put forth legislation to make sure that no fake meat, no peach meat, and no bioreactor meat can be sold in Nebraska grocery stores. He's also advocating for winner-takes-all in presidential electoral votes.
If that experiment of winner-take-all by district was such a great idea, every state would have adopted it by now. It's just us in Maine. So we are prioritizing legislation to get Nebraska back to winner-take-all. Whatever candidate has the most votes.
Pillen is still recovering from a horseback riding injury. He says he's making progress 2 weeks after having surgery.
I'm not ready to run a track meet yet, but I'm making good progress. I'm a little stiff, a little sore, a little bit of pain, but doing really, really well.
In Lincoln, Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia, News Channel, Nebraska.
Turning to Capitol Hill, where the House of Representatives passed the Laken Riley Act on Tuesday. It was the first bill to get a vote by the new Congress. The legislation, named after a Georgia college student who was killed by an undocumented immigrant who was previously arrested for theft. It would require undocumented migrants who commit certain nonviolent crimes like theft or burglary to be federally detained. All 3 of Nebraska's representatives were yes votes. The Senate will likely take up the bill for the first time on Friday, but several Democrats would have to vote for the measure to clear the 60-vote threshold required to advance the legislation. A hog confinement in north-central Nebraska is at the center of a case heard before the Nebraska Supreme Court. Casey Wannenberg takes us inside the courtroom.
God save the state of Nebraska and this honorable court.
The first case in front of the Nebraska Supreme Court Tuesday was focused on a hog confinement in north-central Nebraska near Crookston.
Our first case of the day is Amarak Inc. versus Cherry County Board of Commissioners and Danielski Harvesting and Farming.
Here's some background on the case. In 2021, the Cherry County Board of Commissioners approved a conditional use permit for the confinement. After that, an area landowner and his corporation, Amarak, sued Cherry County, alleging that the permit was improperly issued. The district court sided with Cherry County, but now the case has reached the Nebraska Supreme Court.
Appellants respectfully request that this court reverse the decision of the district court.
The appellants argued that the district court made 3 critical errors. 2 revolve around whether the zoning regulations were met concerning odors and groundwater contamination. The third focuses on who applied for the permit. While the company that applied, Danowski Harvesting and Farming, owns the land and building, it doesn't own the pigs.
And what those zoning regulations require are assurances by the owner and or operator of the
it doesn't say operator.
in certain instances it does.
Well, the odor regulation doesn't.
The odor regulations relate solely to the owner.
The owner of the use.
Of the confined animal feeding use.
What's the owner of the use?
That's a concept that I don't know that we see a lot in the laws. We see ownership of property, but ownership of a use.
And I understand that, and what we're dealing with here are not obviously the appellant's zoning regulations, but the county zoning regulations. And the zoning regulations define a confined animal feeding use under section 303.23 is the raising, the feeding, or the management of more than 300 animal units at any one time. Raising, feeding, or management. It doesn't talk about the ownership.
But attorneys for Cherry County and Danowski say that the owner of the property was the correct entity to apply for the permit.
The specific zoning regulation at issue, Your Honor, sections 1001 says that the Cherry County Board of Commissioners may grant conditional use permits to property owners for the use of their property. The property owner here is Danowski Harvesting and Farming.
Where are the remedies for a misuse of the property? And those remedies and that use all goes to the owner of the property.
The Nebraska Supreme Court will make a decision at a later date. In Lincoln, Casey Wannenberg, News Channel, Nebraska.
Changes are coming this week to a southeast Nebraska governmental body. For the first time in nearly a decade, Jefferson County Commissioner Gail Pullman departing the county board after 2 terms. Tim Hackett takes us there, where the county recognized its departing local official with a send-off ceremony.
Jefferson County recognized the end of County Commissioner Gail Pullman's 2-term tenure with one final county board meeting, followed by a send-off ceremony at the Jefferson County Courthouse on Tuesday. Pullman has served in the role since April 2016, when he was appointed to the position after the death of his predecessor. After Pullman was unseated in a 4-person primary race for the position early last year, his time on the county board ends this week after 8.5 years.
This is the thing I'm going to miss the most, is over the last 8+ years, this has been my family. And I'm a people person, and go back 10 years ago when I got out of the livestock business, I never missed the livestock, but I missed people.
This trio of commissioners has been intact for Pullman's entire term, meaning this will be the first change-up to the county government in close to a decade. And they met for the final time as a unit at Tuesday morning's weekly Commissioners Board meeting, with Pullman executing the responsibilities as chair of the board, as he has done all year. Fast forward just a few hours, and that same space was the site of a celebration, orchestrated by the county clerks and attended by a few dozen of Pullman's local government colleagues, as well as his family. Gail's father, Raymond, was himself a 2-term Jefferson County Commissioner starting in 1977, and he said at the time he dreamed one of his children would eventually follow in his footsteps. Gail said Tuesday he wasn't interested at the time, but now, about 4 decades later, the younger Pullman has carried that family standard while also making his own impact on the county and the multiple regional organizations he served on.
I knew that if I didn't have the time, I wouldn't be able to do it the way I want to do it. If I'm going to be involved, I'm going to be involved, and I'm going to give it 100%.
The photos on the wall behind me showcase the history of the county commissioners and all of the other local elected officials. And with this chapter coming to an end, more photos will eventually be added that commemorate what this group of commissioners has achieved as the county officially moves into a new era later this week. In Jefferson County, Tim Hackett, News Channel, Nebraska.
And the city of Albion is on the brink of a significant transformation for its baseball and softball facilities. Recently, the city council there greenlit a two-phase resolution paving the way for continued planning and development, spearheaded by community organizer Ed Knott. Hanky Hazelton has more.
Phase one, we're looking to raise $250,000. So it's a 60 by 100 building, 20-foot sidewall, so there'll be plenty of room to throw a ball around and have the netting. It will be heated and cooled, so completely climate controlled. But that phase one cost of $250,000 should allow us to put up the building, concrete. We're looking at some used turf for the facility, along with equipment and the netting, HVAC, electrical.
Phase 2 would essentially double the size of the space, making the original 6,000 square foot facility 12,000 square feet.
That extra space essentially would become the 60 by 100 turfed area where you could go kick a soccer ball. You could have a small practice that would be temperature controlled and indoors. You could actually have, fielding type practices indoors. Maybe the football team could use the space, potentially just to walk through some plays and throw a football.
With a 60 by 100 foot building and a large number of students and public access, maintenance upkeep would be a major concern, which is why Ed said the city would own the building.
They'd be responsible for, property and liability insurance, potentially take on a portion of the utilities expense. We also are organizing a group that would be baseball and softball adults and volunteers that would operate the facility. So we have an operating agreement together. Local youth baseball or softball teams would be able to use the facilities at no cost, but there would also be memberships sold as well. So there'd be technology in place so it'd be 24/7 access. If a family purchased a membership, they could use the facility, on a Sunday afternoon if the weather's, not ideal to go, and they could use the facility in that way, which would help us generate some revenue there.
Although this would be a huge addition to the town of Albion, Ed says there is still money to be raised.
We're excited to hopefully get going with phase one, as soon as the ground thaws this spring, and we're excited to continue from a fundraising perspective to hopefully see phase two become a reality in the near future. Other than that, we're just excited for the opportunity for more people to learn about the project and get involved and hopefully understand that this is a ground roots initiative, local fundraising, local dollars, and we're still looking for donors that would love to step up and help us with it.
In Albion, Hanky Hazelton, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. This is News Channel Nebraska.